Welcome to the No Rain, No Rainbows podcast. This is a show about pushing through obstacles and hard times in order to live a happy and fulfilled life. I'm your host, Ted Phaeton, and it's a pleasure to have you joining us. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let's grow. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the No Rain, No Rainbows podcast. It's a pleasure to have you. And as always, a big shout out and thank you to my executive producer, Andre Subtle Solution Media, helping to make this podcast possible. And once again, my man is on the microphone here sitting down on the podcast. Andre, man, what's going on?
What's going on, man? What's going on? Appreciate you
Happy
having
New Year.
Yeah, man. Happy New Year. How was the Christmas?
Christmas was great. Christmas was great. I know a lot of listeners are probably listening to this either approaching their next Christmas, well after the new year, or however so. But for context, we are filming this and recording this right before the, I guess, transition from 2020 to 2021. And what a year it's been, Andre.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it has been.
A lot of lessons, a lot of blessings. And we're going to be unpacking a lot of that. But before we hop into some of these of our reflection, as we did similar to the Christmas episode, we talked about our Christmas pasts, our expectations, our favorite Christmases, and the Christmases that we want moving forward. If you guys haven't had the opportunity to listen to that episode, I invite you to do so and kind of practice some of the questions that we went through. And I'd be interested to know what your responses and what your answers were. So be sure to reach out to Andre and myself with what your answers were from the Christmas episode. We're going to do something a little similar with this New Year episode as we approach New Year. A lot of folks listening to this, if you're listening to it the day it comes out, it's going to be right before New Year's Eve. So I just want to make sure I give a message to all the listeners, all the folks out there that are either watching on YouTube or listening on their iTunes app, or maybe on Spotify. Just want to let you guys know, hey, you've made it. And yeah, we probably got wet along the way with the storms that 2020 had to offer. We probably got beat up a little bit. A lot of us did. But I just want to congratulate each and every single one of you. Congratulations on making it to the end of the year. Congratulations on showing up each and every single day. That's 365 days. You showed up regardless of the circumstances. And I certainly think you guys deserve a round of applause. You guys deserve recognition, and you guys deserve really some acknowledgement for making it through what was for a lot of people a very tough year. Wouldn't you agree, Andre?
Yeah, I would. I would. And the one thing I always like to think of is my favorite philosopher, Dr. Aaron Simmons. He always says, you need that rain to grow. Plants need that rain in order to grow. And we sometimes forget that. We sometimes forget that we need those challenges, that we need those ridges in the mountain to be able to climb it.
Yeah.
Uh, so things like that, man. And I think that, yeah, for us, if you are listening, congratulations. We've made it. We've not. And this is the thing about it. It's not like we've kind of hit it. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we've done it, because it was nothing. I don't feel like 2020 was something that was like check the box kind of year. You know what I mean? Like, we made it through. Like, no, everybody had adversity this year, and I'm very positive everyone's gonna have adversity coming through 2021. It's more so about how you kind of gauge it, how you respond from it. So yeah,
Yeah.
congratulations everyone who's made it. And I say, let's keep working, let's keep going, let's keep grinding. So
Hmm. Absolutely. The foundation has been set. And another saying that you've said on the podcast a number of times, which I love and I've used, I haven't claimed it as my own. I'm not sure where it was from, but you mentioned you can't climb a smooth mountain. You
yeah,
need the peaks and the valleys. And that's what gives you traction. And if 2020 has done anything, it's given so many people traction to move forward, so much fertilizer to grow with, and so much rain and so much water to nourish that growth, and kind of project yourself into 2021. And the reality of it is, and the reality I want folks listening and watching to really grasp and understand is 2021 is not going to erase your 2020.
that
It's
is
not going to happen. You're gonna sit there, the clock's gonna strike midnight, it's gonna be 2021,
mhm.
and you're still going to have the same environment, the same scenario, and the same circumstances that 2021 has served up. What it will do is it will hopefully help change a mindset, help change a trajectory for you and yourself in terms of how you handle things. But looking back at 2020, before we talk about moving forward, Andre, we know that there's been a lot of highs and lows
Hmm.
throughout the year. I'd like to unpack maybe a story or two of maybe something that has stuck out to you of your year, your 2020. What was your high point? What was your low point? Anything that you're willing to share?
Ooh, so all right. So I know the when I think about my high point, one kind of month specifically stands out. I always struggle saying that word. But one month stands out, and it was my May. It was my May, and it's actually that was kind of during COVID, but it was my record-setting month for sales in Subtle Solution business. There was a lot of companies that were looking to go digital, and I was able to kind of provide the solution for them, and that was one of my highs, and in the aspect of like I sat down about a week ago and kind of just looked back on everything that I've done throughout this year, throughout my media company, and it's interesting to see kind of the accomplishments that I've hit throughout a pandemic that I never thought like these weren't things that I was striving for back in January.
Yeah.
Uh, like I knew that I was more so set on having a record breaking year versus having a record breaking month, and that kind of happened all in itself. But I know that was just a really fun time for me to kind of navigate. And I know I say it was fun, and I know sometimes people ask me how my 2020 went, and I say it was great. And I was like, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to be a little upset with me, but I mean, I kind of had a good year. Like I had a good year. Now, don't get
Yeah.
me wrong. I had people who were affected by COVID. I had things that I missed out on from COVID, but like that didn't define my year. That may have
Mm,
defined that hour of those 30 minutes, that day at max, at most, to define that day. You can ask my girlfriend now. Like I never wake up the next day with that thing the past day bothering me ever, and like that affects us sometimes in the aspect of relationship. She's like, I'm not just gonna wake up and it's gonna be over. It's gonna be fine. And I'm like, why not? Like, what do you mean? Like, we got life. We got things we got to do. Like, we got life to live. We got other things to worry about. But that was the kind of the my motto throughout 2020 was let it affect don't let that 15 minutes affect your whole day. You may have that bad 15 minutes, but don't have a bad day.
yeah.
And if you do have a bad day, then don't have a bad week. It's you can't. It's impossible.
Life's
So
too short.
yeah, it's way too short. So just knowing those numbers and saying, okay, well, overall, I had a good year. It could have been better, but at the same time, it could have been worse.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say I did have highs and I did have lows. One of my biggest lows was going into 2020. And I say it's a big low, but it's not that bad. But kind of dealing with business, I had booked my first three brides that were going to go through in 2020. And within the first 2 months of 2020, all three of them had canceled.
Wow.
One couple wasn't even getting married anymore. And all three of them were like, so the deposit, what's up with it? And I was like,
Uh,
we can. But yeah, that was something that I had to navigate with very quickly, and it made me realize that all right, these times that are coming up are nothing's guaranteed. Kind of moving forward, and it inevitably made me kind of innovate my business quickly, which allowed me to start creating video series and stuff like that with people, things that kind of make people more sticky clients and stuff. So
yeah.
I'll say that the low in itself kind of made my business take a turn that enabled me to hit that high, which was really trippy in a way.
Yeah.
But it worked out. It definitely worked out for the good. So
Yeah. The lows kind of provided the highs, if you would, which, as we
literally,
mentioned, no rain, no rainbows.
no rainbows, man.
And I think a lot of people might have experienced some of those fluctuations throughout the year. And I mean, right off the bat, when I think of my high, as we're sitting down recording this, I'm sitting in a home office. I bought a house this year. My fiance and I moved into our first home. And when I look back at the whole year, there were a lot of good times, there are a lot of rough times and bad times, and things I can celebrate, things I can be upset about. But when it comes to the highs, moving into our first home together, and it was a house, but we moved in and made it a home, and that has been a high. And we've gone forward to do some work on the house. Redid the laundry room and
Mm,
the stairs and stuff. I never knew new construction would need so much work,
yep.
but we continue to grow with this house and create it as a home, and it's been very, very beneficial for our relationship as we look forward to starting a life together. So that for me, I would say, is the high.
That's
And
huge.
for context with people, we moved into this house February 17th. So the
Mhm.
pandemic was just getting started. It wasn't even declared a pandemic until March. So that's kind of the context for where we were. In terms of lows for the year, there were, I want to say, three or four occasions,
Mhm.
whether it be there was a number of weddings, there was a family reunion, and of course, always but around the holidays, there were at least three or four occasions where I was supposed to see my parents.
Mhm.
And um, I'm gonna try not to get emotional because
Yeah.
it's funny. Jess will tell you like, hey, I'm not one to like get homesick a lot, and I'm
Mhm.
very okay. I'll see my parents in a few months. Or I'll see them when they see them. But for those that don't know, my parents are in their 70s. I'm very much realistic and aware that I need to cherish these times that I have with them, and
Mhm.
every opportunity I get to see them is important.
Mhm.
So, knowing that three opportunities to see my parents this year, I don't want to say it was taken from me. I don't want to say it was robbed from me, but there's three opportunities to see my parents didn't come to fruition. It stings. It
Mhm.
stings because I live over 750 miles away from my house. I don't get to see my parents often, maybe quarterly. And if that's the case, every single time is precious to me.
Mhm.
So my low was not being able to see my parents as much as I wanted to. And even still, with my parents being in their 70s, that brings its own new concern to it with the pandemic and
Yeah.
elderly being the most vulnerable and things like that. So I still say that with a smile on my face because my parents are doing good. I call them, FaceTime them. Technology is amazing, which helps to close that gap. But I know a lot of people have probably had lower lows, and I know other people might have had higher highs than your
Mhm.
story and mine, Andre. And I just want people to hopefully find that balance and understand that, a lot of us have been focusing on some of the negativity that's happened throughout the year.
Mhm.
But don't forget to balance it out.
Yeah.
Don't forget to give credit where credit's due to the good things that have come
Mhm.
throughout the year, some of the benefits that we've gotten throughout the year. And I can honestly say that it's the lows that provide the fertilizer for the highs. And a lot of folks this year have probably experienced a lot of those highs, not recognizing it
Mhm.
because they're focused so much on the lows, which I can understand. I can understand if you're not in that place yet. But I do hope you get to a place sometime soon as we head into 2021. Next
Mhm.
question, Andre. I know a lot of the listeners probably are unpacking some of their lows and their highs. And again, I'm inviting the listeners to kind of unpack this and do this reflection with us. The next question is kind of, what were the lessons? What were the blessings, right? There's lessons in the blessing, and there's blessings in the lesson. What was the lesson that 2020 taught you, and what was the biggest blessing from it too?
I think one of the biggest lessons that 2020 taught me was the amount of time that you know someone doesn't necessarily determine their value that they may have for you or the love that you may have for them.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and I say that because there was a couple, multiple times where I gave people more so of the business high and the low,
Hmm.
versus kind of like my personal high and my low. But I had some definitely some personal lows that made me like definitely have to deep think and figure out where's the good in this, where how was this good, like how can this be worse, where's it better,
Yeah.
so there were definitely those situations, but knowing that the the time that you spend with individuals, I think, is more important than time equaling money. And I say that
Mhm.
in the aspect of make your time equal meaning, make it have value. And if that in itself you determine is monetary, then cool, like that's fine. But so be it, right? I wrote a book, and the book says empowering yourself to happiness, not to success. And the reason I mainly changed those two is because I did like a lot of plotting, because I'm like, how can you be, if you're successful, you should be happy, right? And technically, if you're happy in its own, that's successful if you're chasing the right thing. So I'm like it's a circle, but I think one thing is very important that we need to chase happiness in 2021. We need to slow down. We need to not get caught up in what's next, but what's now, what's right now. And it's just interesting because the kind of towards the end of 2020, I've kind of grown to see who really cares about what's what, and I've learned to see who where if I invest my time in and I invest that that love and that nurturement and that accountability and that vulnerability aspect and that building aspect back, I get it back in the exact same form. And it's crazy to see that with people who I've known a lot less, but I also do that with other people who I've known a lot longer and don't get nearly the same amount of value in it.
Mhm.
And I say that also with people who I've known, like God rest her soul, Granny. Like that was one of the toughest times of my year. Like
Yeah.
man, that shook me for like a long time, and that it made me realize kind of what, like in that instance, like that was the situation that really was the lesson for me. You know, like you don't have to know people for extremely a long amount of time for you to care about them more than that childhood best friend that you have,
Yeah.
than that person who you grew up with, whoever it may be. It's about that value. It's about that relationship. It's about how they accept you, you know, how they love you unapologetically, you know. So things like that, where those are lessons that I've learned in 2020 that are more so intangibles, and it's kind of carried me through kind of in 2021 to even my business model now. Like I only work with my friends, and it's so crazy to say that. Like I can turn my board around right now and show you, like, these are my friends. Like these are my friends right here. These four people, you know. And I say that to say, like, I like building a relationship with individuals. I like growing with individuals. I like the same thing. Like I'm gonna struggle with you. Like I'm gonna grow with you too. You know, I don't got it all figured out.
Yeah.
But I say that to say, like, relationships are extremely important, and making sure that time is not equal to money, but that time is equal to meaning, and making sure it's equal to value, and creating that with the people around you. So that was one
Nice.
lesson that I learned that I'll definitely take with me.
What was a blessing?
The blessing, I'll say the blessing for me is none of my family being sick from or affected from COVID.
Yeah.
That's an extreme. Oh, that's an extreme blessing for me. Um, yeah, I'm extremely thankful for that.
Yeah.
We've thankfully been able to kind of navigate around it safely. My nana actually is she moved down to Florida like right as this was happening, and it was like a blessing in itself, because if she would
Mhm.
have stayed here, I felt like she would have got exposed, and she was here for a little bit, but yeah, just everything panning out and my family not being affected by it has honestly been the biggest blessing. So
Yeah, and that's wonderful, man. Because I think a lot of people can see how activities or things might have happened before the pandemic hit,
mhm,
which in hindsight worked out perfectly. And I hope that was a
mhm,
situation for a lot of our listeners and watchers on YouTube. I would say for me, as I reflect on the lesson and the blessings, my main lesson that I've gotten was, um, holy crap, you're resilient.
mm,
It's like I can look back and the curveballs that 2020 has thrown me throughout the year,
yeah,
and to still kind of be here and experience growth along the way has taught me something about myself that I never knew I was capable of.
mm,
It's okay. Not only are you resilient, but you grew in times of stress. You grew in times of strain. Yeah, I had a little more time on my hands. I mean, I wrote a business plan this year. We started off the year with a live event for Modern Man, but
mm.
we're ending the year with merchandise. You're wearing a hat.
But y'all see it. Right?
and and
That's
like and don't get me wrong, not to say that I did the year I wanted to, but I guess I ended up doing the year I had to, and the year that I was supposed to, given the circumstances and things that have happened. So looking back, despite the challenges, personally, emotionally, financially, relationship wise, spiritual wise, like all of that managed to grow with the pressure that was put on it. And for me, that was a lesson in terms of like, oh, Ted, you're resilient. You're capable of more than you thought. Shoot, I did the 75 hard challenge with
you
Andy
did it.
Frisella with my
Yeah.
fiance. We did not miss a day of
Mm-hmm.
our promised outdoor workouts together every single day for 75 days. We went outside and spent 45 minutes together, walking, bike riding, whatever it was,
What
something
about rainy
outside.
days?
Was that?
What about the rainy days?
Oh, rainy days, we jumped in puddles. We went outside. There was no excuses, no exceptions. We went outside in rainy days and we jumped in puddles. We had our raincoats on, our jackets because it was cold, and we
Yeah.
still made it work. When it started getting darker earlier, we walked with a flashlight. We took the
Mhm.
dog with us.
Yeah.
All of that happening at the same time of redesigning the Modern Man website,
Mhm.
throwing a virtual conference. We've never done a virtual conference before.
A lot of
So it's one of those things where it's like, wow, you're resilient. And guess what? No rain, no rainbows. This podcast you're listening to, this podcast you're watching right now on YouTube, it didn't skip a beat. We had a new episode every week. We
Mhm.
switched over to Zoom, which is now how we're recording. We still do in person, but Zoom has allowed us to interview folks from across the country. We now have guests from the West Coast. We have guests from the Northeast, all over. I just finished an interview with a guest in Omaha, Nebraska. It's
Yeah.
snowing where he is. It's 60 where I am. So the
Crazy.
lesson was you are resilient, you are versatile, and you are capable. The
Mm-hmm.
blessing, the blessing itself was the challenges, right? The
Mm-hmm.
blessing, and kind of piggybacking off what you said, Andre, the blessing is the opportunity. I mean, and I don't say that to diminish the situation that folks find themselves in. I know folks have been furloughed, folks have lost their jobs, folks are probably still working through filing unemployment,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going through situations where their business is probably hanging on by a thread. I
Mm-hmm.
understand that. However, just like you would reflect and say, okay, what's the opportunity here? Where do we go from here? The blessing is the opportunity. The blessing is
Mm-hmm.
because I found out that I'm resilient, because I found out that I am capable and versatile. Now, when I'm in a challenge, which we are currently in, I still have a lot of challenges ahead of me. But now it's like, okay, what is the opportunity here? Where is the growth opportunity? And what am I going to learn from this?
Mm-hmm.
Because the challenge itself, I mean, just as an outlier, as a result, it's going to make me better.
Yeah.
That's just it's facts. I'm not gonna lay over. I'm not gonna roll over and just give up. And a lot of folks, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, you're in a situation where you wake up every single day. Like that's why I congratulated folks at the beginning of the episode. 365 days. Congratulations. Guess what? When you wake up tomorrow, it's another opportunity. It's
Mm-hmm.
another chance. You showed up once again and you get to do it again. And the blessing is the day that we have, the time that we have, the appreciation for the time that we have. We've never longed for human touch so much more than what we do now.
Yeah.
And you're talking to somebody who's a hugger, someone who, if I meet you for the first time, hey, get over here, come get this loving.
Mm-hmm.
We used to give out free hugs on Fridays, Andre. We can't do that right now. The Rona's everywhere,
Yeah.
but
Crazy.
people are longing for human touch,
Please do
and
it.
and that's the blessing. What I say,
In my green, no, we did in my green toucan. Weather.
yeah. And remember, we did it at the mall, and like 2 weeks later, we were downtown, and then somebody was like, "You were at the mall 2 weeks ago."
Good. When was that? Was at the end of last year, or when was it?
I want to say that was at the end of last year.
I gotta figure out when that was. That would be so wild if that was in 2020.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
God.
would be. It would be the the comparison, right? The contrast. We used to hug people just walking by. Now
Yeah.
that would not fly.
No, no.
Um, Moving forward, looking ahead as we come to the last about 7 minutes of the podcast, Andre. Um, 2021. What's the plan? What's the goal? What are you working on? What are we working towards? And I want the listeners to kind of unpack that too. Don't go into 2021 with like. So I've seen this meme going around,
Mm-hmm.
and quite frankly, I'm gonna go rogue. I don't like it.
Go
It
ahead.
says going into 2021, be quiet. Don't make any don't make any New Year resolutions. Don't expect anything. Don't claim anything. Just
Yeah.
stand there and don't touch nothing. I
Oh,
respectfully disagree.
yeah, me too.
I want you to declare what you're going to do in 2021. I want you to claim what you're going to have in 2021. I want you to look 2021 in the eye and say, listen, all right, you might have got me last round. You got a couple hits in, but I didn't watch the film. I've seen the tape
Yep.
and I'm ready for the next round.
Look
So how
at
are you
that.
moving forward
You
into 2021?
know, it's a good question. You go first this time. I have my answer, but you go first.
You like doing that.
I do.
2021, I get married in 2021.
Yep.
Um, that's
Big
that's
goal.
honestly what I'm claiming is the future, man. I'm claiming the start of the rest of my life, and I've been working on this for a long time. Right? I'm not saying this is
Yep.
the beginning of my grind. This is when I'm going to
Yep.
start. No, I'm talking about fruition. You know,
Yeah.
putting it together. You
Mm-hmm.
know, 2021. I want to unapologetically bust out in all arenas, in my career, in my business, in my relationship, um, all of which have endured 2020,
Mm-hmm.
which can only tell me that we are set for growth in 2021. We've been pulled back, and what happens to the arrow when it's pulled back on the bow?
Builds up momentum.
That thing flies, and I am looking to let go of that string and fly in 2021. So tangibly, obviously, relationship wise, getting married in 2021. This podcast you're listening to, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. 10,000 plus downloads a month in 2021. Going for it.
Yeah.
Modern man, you know, 10,000 plus members in our closed Facebook group. I want to really connect men, touch men, and pause. The reality of that though is I want to connect and build relationships.
Yeah.
I want to help men get out of their cocoon of loneliness,
Yeah.
find connections and meaningful relationships, and help them reach their potential and empower them to be the best members of society, the best members of their family that they can be. And I think that all grows and really takes off here in 2021. So that's what I'm declaring. That's what I'm proposing. And that's what I'm trying to will into fruition here in the next 365 days. Andre.
That's good. That's good. So for me, mine is to build more consistency throughout 2021, and that's throughout all aspects of my life, through my faith, through my foundation, my family, my fitness, everything, my friends, through having fun. Like I want to be more consistent in all the aspects of my life, and that's gonna require me saying no to a lot more things. That's gonna require me setting some standards, and that's fine. It's gonna I'm excited for it because it's going to provide me to grow. It's going to provide me to have those uncomfortable conversations, those uncomfortable situations. Which for me, I'm like, let's do it. Like I
Yeah.
kind of like the awkward moments. I like seeing where they go. I like seeing did I think that through? Like, was that an option or did it go a different way that I didn't think it could? Like, oh, okay, cool. Next time I'll think about that. So
Mhm.
little things like that where I just want to be more consistent in my life personally. Um, One, starting off with my fitness. I want to figure out some way to become more consistently active outside of my job, because like I'm pretty active with my job. Like I carry around a camera and I shoot video and stuff like that, and I'm never I don't live like behind the I'm very rarely at this desk outside of like from 7 a.m. to like 10 a.m.
Yeah.
But I want to become more consistent in my fitness aspect for sure. So that's
Nice.
one of my big goals. I have that I'm My thing now is I'm doing good. And I feel like if I can really focus on my health and myself personally, I can become great.
Yeah.
But I feel like it still is focusing on myself. And I feel like 2020 was that year for myself too, where it's like focus on you and growing yourself, which I say like selflessly, but selfishly, because like I need to become a better version of myself for those around me.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to work on yourself. Like it is what it is. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I felt like 2020 was that year, but I felt like I didn't get it done, or didn't get it accomplished fully. I felt like I hit a couple other goals, but not fully growing myself personally the way I wanted to be. So yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
what definitely my fitness. If you guys have any tips, reach out to me. You want to go cycling? Let's go cycling. Let's go mountain biking. I need to figure out a way to get in the gym. I think it's going to be signing up for some sort of competition. So
Ooh.
I'm not sure yet. Yeah. I see. I was talking to AK, and I'm like, I think I just have no motivation to be in the gym because it's
Yeah.
like, why do I go in the gym? Not for what, Like I'm not big right now. I'm not overweight. Like I'm not. I can do push-ups.
I got
Like
2 reasons.
what is it?
Look good naked and be
I
hard to
know it'd
kill.
be hard to kill. I already know, but
That's
I'm good.
that's
I
all
got
I
that.
need.
Yeah. And that's where I'm like, like if I sign up for a competition, I ain't gonna try to let the other person down. So I'm gonna be like, we there tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But I will say this, I would like to do a triathlon. That would be lit.
Ooh,
Even though
I
it's
am
running, I would jog that run. I would jog that run
I am
bad.
committed to start running, and
Okay.
I believe St. Patrick's Day is the countdown of the St. Patty's Day 5K. I've signed up with my boy
Mm-hmm.
Davey, and he's like, I told him, I said, man, I don't run, I hate running, but I got to start. He goes, St. Patty's Day 5K, we're doing it, and I was like, oh, okay. And for those of you guys that are listening, Davey, good friend of mine, awesome dude. He's about 6 foot something,
Yeah,
200
yes.
something pounds, just full of love, but big man. So when he says we doing
Oh,
something, I'm doing it.
yep. All smiles
I'll,
too.
I'll, I'll be there with bells on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Andre, man, that's our time.
Yeah, man.
To the listeners, to the viewers, and those on Facebook. Happy New Year.
Yep.
2021 is your year. I'm encouraging you to claim it. Don't listen to the meme that says don't touch anything or whatnot. You might be superstitious. I understand. But for somebody like me, I've gotten luckier the more work I've put in. So if that's your superstition, mine is that hard work,
Yep.
focus, drive, plan, and claim it. Make it yours. 2021 is full of opportunity. 2020 might not have been the best year for you. I understand. Maybe it was a good year for you. Congratulations. Regardless of how it was, you're still standing. You're here. You're listening to these words. You've made it through everything you've been through. And that is worth celebrating. That is worth being proud of. Congratulations to you. And I wish you have a happy new year. I wish you have an amazing 2021 and beyond. And I wish that the lessons of 2020 don't soon get forgotten. I hope that they stay with you, and I hope that they continue to pour into you and help bring some rainbows for your future, because I know we've had a lot of storm throughout the years. Anything you want to add, Andre, before I sign off?
Don't dwell on 2020 too much.
Facts.
Remember, the next day is the next opportunity. Always
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah. Elsa would say, let it go.
Yeah, straight up.
And I know
I
your
don't know,
kids are
it can be
probably singing
better and
that
it
now
could be
too.
worse.
Yeah, it can be worse. Guys, we appreciate you making it to the end of the episode. And like I said, we've had our fair share of storms, but it's time to indulge and enjoy those rainbows. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd like to hear what some of your answers were to these questions. Be sure to reach out to Andre or myself. I'll be sure to have Andre's social media tags and website in the show notes as well. And you guys know how to reach me, as I always have those links on the website, on the show notes. And of course, you can reach me through this podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would really appreciate it if you go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, give us a rating, let us know how we're doing. We can't get better if you don't give us any feedback. So, yeah, Andre's trying to point to where the box
Look
is.
over there.
It could be over here, it could be up there.
Pull
It
up.
really depends on the platform that you're watching this on. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to get your feedback. And if you really got value from this episode, please share it with a friend, because I mean, the best way to support this podcast is word of mouth. Help us get to that 10,000 downloads worldwide each month. We are depending on you for that, and help us doing that. If you guys want to continue to support the podcast, we appreciate and love each and every single one of our Patreon supporters. You could be one too for as little as $1 a month. And we like to throw in some extra audio here and there from some of our guests, get some extra conversations, throw some pictures up. And of course, we work on a lot of some extra content there as well. And it's a little bit more than 99 cents a month, about a penny more, right? So as we always say, guys, 2020 was probably the storms, and hopefully 2021 will be your rainbows. But don't count on 2021 to erase your 2020. As we always say at the end of the episode, guys, everybody wants the sunshine, but they don't want the rain. But you can't get the pleasure without a little pain. Let's grow.
Nice.
Nice. The No Rain, No Rainbows podcast is recorded at Camaraderie, a collective workspace in Greenville, South Carolina, right off the Swamp Rabbit Trail. If you're looking for a place to grow your business, network with other professionals, and establish your own workspace, Camaraderie is the place to do so.